Did you know that there's an insect that lives underground for about 13 to 17 years? And once they are done living underground, they will come up from Earth and they will shed off their skin as they become adults. And they will make this mating noise to attract females, and once they mate, they'll die. And these are called cicadas. And in a strange way, I feel like I relate to my life is kind of like the representation of a cicada, because I'm currently 29 years old and I'm just about to turn 30. And at the age of 29, I recently feel like I finally found myself. And that's kind of like the cicada coming off the ground and shedding off their skin. So me shedding off my skin is kind of like shedding off my layers of personas and who I am or who I thought I was. And this is kind of like me coming to a resolution of who I am, and that is just to realize what I am and accepting myself for myself and nothing more and nothing less. Because the cicada, it doesn't matter how much it could pretend to be a different insect, but by the end of the day, it still knows what it is and it still does what it does. And there's no guide that needs to be implemented in the cicada to do what it does. It's always been there. It's a part of who it is, and it will do what it is. And it doesn't need to ask people around it to do what it does. It doesn't have to pay for a subscription model to teach it what to do in life. And it doesn't need to be enlightened to do what it does. It is what it is. And in that same way, I've realized who I am is what I am. Like accepting the fact that the things that I do is what I do. And the more I try to get away from that, the more it kind of hurted, because I will always do the things that I do. I will always like the things that I like. It might change over time, but it's still who I am as a person. And as an example is I always love philosophy and things in life and the things you talk about life. And really the things that goes deep, I didn't like the things that were on the outside, like on top of the surface, to put it that way. I like the things that were like underneath the iceberg, the things that really made it the iceberg. Not just look at the shiny tip of the iceberg, oh my god, like it's beautiful. But really, like if you look under the iceberg, it has like this massive thing to it that exists where it doesn't exist. And that is the thing that really drew me, or that made me feel like alive, like I'm talking about something that really matters here. And going through college, I kind of felt like, well, philosophy, what are you gonna do with philosophy? Like, you're gonna get a degree in philosophy? What is that gonna do? Like, there's no money in that. So I've been kind of running away from myself and lying to myself in a way, and then not accepting who I was and the things that I like. So I ended up getting a different degree, which was in communication, and my life just kind of went on kind of avoiding who I was. So coming back to the cicada, it's like it always knows what it is, and it will always do the things that it does. Just like any animals that are born, they will do the things that they do, and there's no guide. It doesn't have to do anything to know those things. It just does. And so me, at the age of 29, I accept the things that I are. Accept the things that I am. And not really running away from it. But rather just, I put my hands off the wheel. And then I say, okay, this is who I am. I'm this car that likes to drive off-road. I'm not gonna go on the track trying to race people anymore. I try that, and when I do, I feel like I'm always on the short end of the stick, Like, oh my god, like why don't I have the fast wheels. Why is my engine not as strong as the other car? They always seem to go so fast, and I feel like I always go so slow. So like I always felt like I was missing something. I wasn't enough. I was always I was always lacking something. I wasn't enough. And living my life looking through that lens kind of felt like no matter how much I try to put on or improve myself, I always felt like I was lacking. And I envision myself being like a turtle that tried to fly, compete with an eagle, up in the air, soaring in the sky, looking for praise, or a shark, just nobody wants to mess with a shark, but I compare myself to that. But really, a turtle, so innocent, but yet it outlives everyone, or most animals. And it's slow, but sometimes it can be really fast when it needs to. And a lot of the aspects of a turtle, I feel like, well, I kind of see myself in that way. I don't have to be the tiger in the jungle. I don't have to be the shark in the ocean, or the eagle in the sky, and that's okay. And just accepting me for who I am, and do the things that I do. And coming back again to the cicada, that's what's happening. It's like I'm shedding off my old skin, my personas, and just be me, and just do the things that I do, and accepting it for what it is. And so right now, I'm at the stage of shedding off my skin, and the cicadas make a loud noise to attract females. And essentially, that's not what I do. The loud noise is coming off as in like this podcast where I am expressing myself of who I am. And it's not necessarily to attract the females, but rather it makes noise which attracts things in the world. And that's what it is, I just do what I do. And so after attracting noises in nature, the females lay eggs in branches of the tree, and that is kind of like me leaving the message into the world. And if it carries some weight into the world, that is great. If it doesn't, that is still great, because I get to be me. So these cicadas are also known as the 13-year locust, but instead of 17, I'm like the 29-year locust that is finally emerging off the ground, shedding off skin, which is kind of like the personas and images. And yeah, I feel like the tutorial of life is finally coming to an end. Instead of riding a bike with 3 wheels, I get to take them off and actually ride the bike. But this whole time I've been riding the bike across a lake. and I'm looking at myself and I'm like, okay, why did I do that? Trying to blend in, trying to fit in, trying to take my bike somewhere I don't belong. So I'm finally on the shore. I'm finally taking off the training wheels. Gonna ride into the woods and kind of just exist and live and be me. And that is what this podcast is. And I would like to welcome you, if you made it this far into the podcast, that you're listening to The Fine Roots. And my name is Tian. And this is a podcast where I kind of share my perspective of life with everyone. And I see the world through like metaphors and life, and just talk about life in general, and sharing my metaphors and my view on the world. And it's kind of people relate to other people with their experiences, but for me, I feel like I can relate more to things in nature. So that's what it's going to be about, just things in nature, things in life in general. Yeah, before I sign off, I would like to thank you, and I wish the best for you, for your day, for your night, for your week, for your year, and everyone around you. And until next time, take care of yourself. Cheers.